How did Asia's best entrepreneurs, idealists, and trendsetters make it? I'm your host, Chris Chong, and on today's episode, a young marketer from the UK moves to Singapore and then builds one of the biggest personal brands on LinkedIn. If you're already not working with LinkedIn has been so useful to get career and sales leads with valuable connections. If you're not using it enough or unsure how to leverage the platform for your own career or business goals, like getting a better job or selling your product or services, then this episode will really help you. One of the bad things about LinkedIn is that there's a lot of noise and useless information on the home feed, but if you use the messaging feature, you can create a lot of opportunities just by connecting and networking with the right people. So when I reached out to my network on LinkedIn for people to interview, I was so happy to receive a message from today's guest. Chris Reed has been named an official LinkedIn Power Profile for every year since 2012 and has been one of the world's most viewed LinkedIn profiles with 55,000 followers. You're going to hear about how one man built himself up as literally the king of LinkedIn in Asia. He's iconic for his mohawk and his energy and charisma. So people admire others who hustle because most of us are shy, or some of us are even lazy. Some of us see self-promotion as maybe narcissistic, or they're just trying too hard. But you've mastered the skill of getting your name out there on one of the biggest platforms in the world. Why do you do it?
I mean, why I did it fundamentally comes back to when I moved to Singapore. I didn't have a job. So I moved here as an entrepreneur in the UK. My business wouldn't transfer over here for cultural reasons. So I thought, okay, what do? I don't know anybody in Singapore. So I started using LinkedIn, my 200 then connections 10 years ago, saying, who do you know in Singapore? People said, meet this person or meet this person. So I went and met those people. And by networking, I created my own job, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And those jobs were marketing jobs, sales jobs across the whole region. I didn't know anybody in the whole region. So again, I had to use LinkedIn to actually find people. So I thought, this is quite interesting. This works. I found clients, I found jobs, I found investors, I found employees. And then I started winning the Power Profile Awards from LinkedIn. And then people started coming to me saying, Chris, you've got a great profile. Can you do my profile? And obviously went, ding, that's the light bulb moment. This is the one I want to go for. This is the venture I want to really back myself with. So then I started black marketing, and that's when it really, really took off. So I've actually do it, and I do it on a daily basis myself. So I know it works. All my leads come through LinkedIn and my talks and so forth, but fundamentally come through LinkedIn. But we also train the team up to do that for our clients. So I know it's a real passion of mine, so I can see how it works. So fundamentally, I think you have to work for a company you believe in and you have a passion for, and you can see the purpose of what you're actually doing. And I see the purpose when we help other entrepreneurs across the world win investment or win clients or win employees or just enhance their own personal brand. So it works. It simply fundamentally works. That's why it's beautiful to it doesn't feel like going to work every day, because I'm helping other people, I'm helping myself help other people. So it's fantastic.
And how old were you when you moved to Singapore?
10 years ago. So I was 39.
So, you're 39, middle-aged, and you're moving to Singapore, experimenting with this platform where most people would have just created a LinkedIn profile and kind of sat on it.
Yeah.
What made you think at 39, I'm going to invest all my resources into exploiting this platform, LinkedIn?
Because I couldn't see how else I was going to achieve my goals. It's like, how else do you go to another country and actually find a job and network and aggressively go after and present your personal brand and win clients from your clients? Literally, my first job was winning clients across the whole of Asia Pacific and going, but I don't know anybody in China. Don't you have a database? I even said to the people, don't you have a database? I said, no, we don't have a database. And actually, they gave me their old database, and we sent out a mail to every single person, and most of the people bounced back because they're all obviously in Singapore or Hong Kong. They'd changed their job like 5 times since they created the email, so it didn't work. Whereas on LinkedIn, of course, they don't bounce back because you keep your email address updated on LinkedIn because it's yours. So quickly realised that actually it worked to the extent where I'm not on Facebook, not on Twitter, not on any other platform. I'm only on WeChat because it's linked to LinkedIn. I'm only on YouTube because it gives me the content to put onto LinkedIn. So it's all about fundamentally understanding LinkedIn more than anybody else. And the reason why we get business is because we only do LinkedIn.
And you would have gotten into this 10 years ago. So 2009, the advent of Facebook was around 2005, 2006. So it would have been the early days of LinkedIn. You really took advantage of as it was starting and getting off the ground. Do you think that somebody can still exploit the platform to the extent that you have now?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Because don't forget, 10 years ago, nobody was using LinkedIn in Asia. It wasn't even open in China. So you're literally talking about only having a few million users across the whole of Asia. Now it's the fastest growing region. Now it's got the second and third largest countries in India and China. Now you've got Singapore at 2.3, 2.4 million. You've got Hong Kong saturated. You've got Australia saturated. You've got Malaysia and Indonesia really picking up. And even Thailand, places like Myanmar and Vietnam really picking up. Whereas when I left, the UK was booming when it comes to LinkedIn and America, but nobody was using it over here. So yes, I got a greater share of voice because I was using it, but now you can reach more people. And that's fundamentally what we use it for, to develop business across the whole of the world. So lots of our clients, not even in Singapore, like our second biggest market is Zurich. And we're now recruiting for a country manager in Zurich because we've got so much business there. I keep going back every 2 months, but obviously that's not sustainable. So the beauty of LinkedIn is it truly is global. So all you're doing is using the data and saying, how can we help you? And people saying, I need some help on that. And they're not being serviced by their own country, like no one in Zurich or even Switzerland is doing what we're doing. So we can help them. And the great thing about Zurich is Switzerland is like the Singapore of Asia. They don't just want to do business for themselves because they realize that's unsustainable. Like Singapore, you can't really just do business in Singapore. You've got to look at the whole of Asia Pac. Well, Zurich's the same. Zurich people get the fact they have to do business for the whole of Europe and America and Asia Pacific. They get it. So they need our help. So that's why it works for us. And that's why countries like Zurich and Singapore really, really work. Hong Kong, for example, really, really works.
So you're talking from the BD level of companies trying to do cross-border partnerships. From the individual point of view for a fresh grad who might have just started their career, the beauty of it is the messaging feature where you can really reach out to CEOs at your fingertips. Do you still, how does that compare to going to networking events and trying to shake hands and exchange business cards? Do you think that that's an outdated way of networking?
It's a really, really good analogy because I always view LinkedIn as being a networking event. So that's where you have to have a good personal branding, a good story, not just talk about your company the whole time, add in other things. We follow the 4-1-1 rule about content marketing, one hard sell post about your business and then 4 unrelated posts that people can relate to. So it's the same with LinkedIn. I believe that you find people on LinkedIn and then you go and meet them like this. So, I believe in, connecting with people in Zurich and then going to meet them, or in Shanghai, or in Hong Kong, or in Berlin, or in Sydney, where it happens to be. And it's the same on LinkedIn. So people should invest in both. I don't see LinkedIn as being a replacement for networking. I see LinkedIn and networking working together. But the fundamental thing about networking is it's random. Even if you have a plan, even if you know who's going to be at that event, there's no guarantee that 1, they turn up, 2, they'll even meet you, 3, they might be busy with other people, 4, they might have left. And then you're going into this room going, I need to meet this person. He's the CMO of this company. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And then you meet 5 other people beforehand. Then you've lost track of who you're supposed to meet. Whereas on LinkedIn, you use the data. And you target specific people and say, I want to meet you. And I want to meet you at this date with this time. And that's why my trips to Zurich always generate dozens and dozens of meetings. So I've pinpointed entrepreneurs in Zurich and I said, I want to meet you in Zurich. I will be here for these 4 days in this venue. Will you meet me? Whereas networking is much more fun because it's more random. So you can do both. You should do both.
And a lot of young people are obviously spreading their time across different social networks, Facebook, Instagram. You're saying they're a waste of time. If you are career focused, why aren't you posting more on LinkedIn than other networks? But you have developed this cult of personality over the 10 years since you've joined LinkedIn. What was the starting point for you? Was it, I know you mentioned the 4-1 rule, but was it really just about trying to engage your network? How do you do it?
Fundamentally, yes. It's also about driving sales. Because the best way of driving sales in a country you've never been to is to use the data of your current connections and go to their connections and their connections. You use the data. So from your personal branding point of view, I mean, your question about being a career is really, really important. I do lots of, university work here across all the universities about how they should be treating their personal branding on LinkedIn, because their employers and future employers are Googling them and find them on LinkedIn, find their profiles. By all means, having Facebook and Instagram, but that doesn't enhance your personal brand from a professional point of view. It actually can detract. Because if people are actually looking at some of the Facebook photographs, some of the Instagram photographs going, really? You're a bikini model and you've just applied to a bank? It's like, how is this going to work? With that picture of you, getting drunk at this particular venue, and that's on your Facebook with your friends, that's great, but it's not great for, your professional services client. You're supposed to be a lawyer. So you've got to look at in LinkedIn, it's all about professionalism. So the context, the frame is always professional. So I always frame every single post and think, how is this relevant to professional network with my professional connections? And it's still social. People underestimate people. LinkedIn, it's professional. But it's professional in a social context. There's a rival platform called Zing, for example, in Germany. And that's completely the opposite. There's no social there at all. It's very German, shall we say. It's very like matter of fact, matchmaking when it comes to professionalism, but there's no social, there's no engagement. And people don't like it as a result of it. And people are turning to LinkedIn. It's also just in Germany, so it limits you in terms of who you can talk to. Whereas LinkedIn gets the fact it's still social, just a professional social. So people like to see you in a business context. People like to see you talking to other entrepreneurs like yourself, Chris, and actually have, exchanging ideas, but in a professional context. They don't like you going too far and go to the Facebook bit in terms of, babies being born and weddings and celebrations and that kind of thing, unless, of course, you're selling babies and, weddings and death and illness and that kind of thing. It's contextual. It's about business. So it all has to be about business, and that's why it works.
And what's your view of the news feed? Because, when I go on the news feed, I hardly spend any seconds on it because it just seems like such a mess. There's a lot of noise. It seems like a lot of self-promoting and a lot of narcissism, like I've achieved X result. Yeah. What's your view of it? Because you've seen it evolve.
Okay, I get what you're saying, but ultimately LinkedIn is about promotion. And in one of my most famous slides in my presentations, my keynotes, I actually use a great quote from James Blunt, not because I like James Blunt, because obviously I don't want to admit to James Blunt, but he says, "You are beautiful." That's that guy there. But he says, I'm British, so I'm self-deprecating. If I was American, I would tell you how great I was. And that's about LinkedIn. Americans have no problem at all saying, yes, I did this, it's fantastic. We did this as well, this is amazing. Asians and English people don't tend to do a lot of that. So actually it's a good thing that you're noticing people are being self-promoting, because we tell people to be more self-promoting, because Asians don't want to be self-promoting. But you're just as good as anybody else, so why don't you just promote yourself a bit more? And people might throw slingshots at you, all the rest of it, but at least they're not anonymous on LinkedIn, and they're more refined with their comments, shall we say. So they're actually putting themselves out there, and they think twice before criticizing. They'll think, but my professional network's going to see this, and his connection's going to see this. And look, we both know, maybe I won't let that comment after all. And you think twice because it's professional. So I think it's a good thing you're seeing self-promotion. Personally, I curate my content, so I hide people, for example, or I unfollow them, or I hide their feed. So I don't see anything about Trump, for example, because I've hidden all that. I don't see anything about Brexit because I've hidden all that. I don't see anything that I don't want to see. So if people do those horrible short posts with like one line saying, I fired someone today for being having a mohawk or whatever, and they basically it's just clickbait. They want you to basically go down and look at everything else. They get a million views. I hide all those people as well because I don't want to see that. So my feed's actually pretty good. I like my feed because I get some interesting intellect. I get some interesting ideas. I see what my contacts are doing in different countries. I can comment on them. I can engage. I can share. So I think it's up to you to basically create your own feed. So you can't blame other people if basically you're still connected to them, still following them, and you're not basically hiding their feed.
What's your advice to young people who want to be more vocal on LinkedIn? And, the Instagram post has quite a standard format. It's either a hashtag or it's an inspirational quote with a photo of you on the beach or on holiday. I mean, how do you have that fine balance of tone and promoting yourself while still being human?
It's a very good question. So the 411 I mentioned before, that is about that. So you should do one hard sell post, one self-promotion post, one soft sell post about your industry, and 4 unrelated posts where you are giving value back. So you're genuinely sharing genuinely interesting things that someone can take away and go, oh, that's interesting. Chris shared some really good, interesting insights today, or Chris shared a good report today, or Chris shared a good survey today about what you're actually doing. So you're giving back. And that, to me, gives you permission to then do the self-promotion, the hard sell. Now, you've got to earn that right to do that by giving value back. Give tips about people can actually use in real life. Share genuine stories that are quite interesting. Share little anecdotes or share news that people think are going to be interesting. Give genuine content back. And then people will forgive you and basically give you permission to then do the hard sell. So it's a balance. You can't do hard sell all the time. You can't do self-promotion all the time, but you must share interesting things. So if there was any advice for people starting this, they've got to look at how they create a content marketing strategy around that 4-1-1 rule.
And for people applying for jobs through LinkedIn, I know you're more about building a power profile and about optimizing people's profiles. But if they are looking for a job and they go through that feature on LinkedIn, I often hear the complaint through a lot of my friends that it just gets lost in 1,000 applications.
I agree.
They do defer to the old school way of actually trying to find the hiring manager, trying to email them or call them. What's your view on?
No, there's a middle way. So what we do is like we have a job seeker service, for example. So normally for high executives or people moving countries. I had one woman swimming, for example, who's been a big exec here, but she's going to Dublin because she's a traveling spouse. So she's got no choice but to go to Dublin. So we've got a whole plan for her, but we change her profile to be about in Dublin. We're going to create target lists for her about who she wants to meet in Dublin, do a content plan about Dublin, and we will reach out using the Sales Navigator platform and say, I will be in Dublin looking for a new job. I would love to meet you for half an hour to talk about how I can help you. So that we don't even know if those people have got jobs, but I know if I put this woman in front of them, they will be so impressed by her, they will find a job for her because she's fantastic. She's amazing. So basically, we just showed her how to do that. And then we will do that as a service. So I totally agree. It's like having a job is fantastic, but you're actually better off having a one-on-one communication like we are now and talking to someone so they can see your personal brand and bother to reach out. The worst ones, we advertise on LinkedIn all the time, and actually it does work. It does work a hugely amount, apart from when people don't read the adverts. So, at the moment, for example, if we employ someone in Singapore, we basically say, unless you are PR, PEP, or having a DP or Singaporean, we cannot employ you because of the employment laws. And the same thing, I've got a country manager in Zurich, for example, unless you are actually in Zurich. And I've even said, you must have 10 years experience of networking in Zurich. I'm still getting Americans and Indians and English people who are not living in Zurich, who just fancy a job in Zurich, applying and going, you obviously didn't read the advert. What good are you to me if you've got no network in Zurich? I need someone with a network in Zurich to actually help me enhance the brand of there. So people don't help themselves. And that obviously then people get cynical about the people they get in. But I think if you approach people on a one-on-one basis saying, I saw your advert, thought it was really good, I just thought I'd reach out to you so you could highlight my profile, you look at my personal brand, I've done X, Y, and Z, this is great content I've written here, there's a video I've done over here, I'd love to spend half an hour with you to explain why I think I'm good for you. Nothing beats that personal touch, it really doesn't.
And so do you help recruiters go through those thousands of applications?
No, we do the other way around. We basically show recruiters how they can enhance their personal brand to attract the right person, or the company brand to attract the right people for the right jobs, but more the other side. We help people pitch, not normally recruiters, because recruiters, like I say, they get bombarded, but normally going specifically straight to the company employing themselves.
Do you think that LinkedIn has aided the recruitment process, or do you think that there are some problems with, how easy it is for people to apply? Now there's thousands of applications, and I know a couple of my friends are quite annoyed and frustrated that they don't even hear back. At least say the job was filled, or at least say, hey, you didn't get a call. They don't hear anything, and that seems to be quite common now.
I think it's common because you get inundated, you get thousands and thousands of applicants. You can't possibly reply to thousands of people, and especially if you get very cynical, because, like I say, people sometimes just don't bother, even trying to understand the job. Indian engineers applying for a marketing job in Singapore, it's like with no hope of getting a work pass. It's like, what's the point? And basically you haven't read it, you've just gone, you just got to apply. And LinkedIn do not help, I agree with that quick apply thing. That's lazy. If you can't be bothered to actually send a message with a little cover letter saying why you should be employed and interviewed, then you don't deserve the job. So I agree, LinkedIn's made it very easy, and therefore you're now spammed.
And for people who are unaware of the services that you provide, obviously LinkedIn's got an array of tools that are available for recruiters and employers. But you're more helping recruiters to amplify their profile, but are you also helping people to apply for jobs?
Well, I mean, we fundamentally help people who own businesses. So Black Marketing does help does social selling. We do Sales Navigator, we do lead generation, investor relations, employee finders, but through the CEO's profile, through the founder's profile. We do, though, help through our dark art personal brand service, help people enhance their personal brand, then reach out to potential little recruiters, normally not headhunters, normally directly at the company themselves. But the recruiting companies that I work for, they normally want me to help them enhance their personal brand, make them a keynote speaker, raise their personal brand, for example, help the company brand, attract talent, attract both not just talent, but also people to work for them, applicants, but also companies. So we help them win clients. And ironically, we use the Sales Navigator platform, even though they have the Recruiter platform, because it has different things you can do on it.
I see different search features, correct, different filters. And let's talk about entrepreneurs, startups who are low resource, maybe don't have a HR department, maybe using LinkedIn the same way you did 10 years ago to try to find talent or opportunities, sales leads, manually by messaging people. Do you have any advice for low resource entrepreneurs who are trying to make a name for themselves on LinkedIn? I mean,
first and foremost, you've got to increase your connections. You've got to increase your network with the right kind of people with a personalized message. And then you've got to have a content marketing plan. You've also got a very, very good personal brand. So someone comes to your profile, they get, wow, I know what Chris stands for. I know what Chris stands for. I've got to have some kind of feeling about what your brand values are. And then you've got to use the Sales Navigator platform. So you've got to invest a little bit of money, $60, $70 a month, to use the Sales Navigator platform, because that will find you leads. That will find you clients. Very, very simply. You can see who's active on LinkedIn. You can see who you can message for free, and it will find you clients.
And how closely do you work with LinkedIn itself to... Okay, so basically they say, look, our tools are available. How you use them is up to you, and then you've obviously found a client base where you.
Correct. I would argue I know more about LinkedIn than anybody else who works at LinkedIn, apart from the guys in probably San Francisco and a couple of guys in London. Yeah, I mean, there's a guy who is the head of content in London, has just gone to Microsoft. He's fantastic. He knew more about it than I did. But most people over here are salespeople. And so to be fair to them, they're very good at selling, but they're not very good at understanding the platform. And when I've met them here, they're lovely and everything. I'll get on well with them, but I point out lots of things they don't even know about their own platform. And often they'll try and basically highlight things like the careers page on LinkedIn, and I point out how useless it is and how it's a waste of money because nobody engages with it. And they obviously don't like that because it costs $30,000, and they're selling it to companies who basically just want to tick a box and say, yes, we've got a careers page. And I go, but anyone engaging with it? No, no one engaging at all. Any of your C-suite on it? No. Anyone recommending you on it? No, no one's doing that either. So basically, it fails. Career pages fail on LinkedIn. So we do things that LinkedIn don't. I mean, we fit between their sales and the clients. We go into people who do not have the time to do it themselves. Most CEOs in this world do not have the time to actually do this. Even on my account, I have 5 people on my account doing all the lead generation, doing Sales Navigator, answering, connecting, engaging, removing, adding, the whole thing. The other thing I do is answer all the comments, and I plan their own content marketing. Everybody else and my personal brand, but everything else is done by my team. And we do the same thing for our clients because they don't have the time to do it. So it's better for them to have an engaging profile, at least have the voice on there, and obviously they approve every single thing, is for them not to do it at all. So it's worth investing for yourself through things like the phone, for example, the app, on the way to work, on the way back from work, when you're waiting for somebody in a bar or a coffee, for example, and actually invest in your personal time to actually do it.
So you would definitely advise young people to spend way more time on their LinkedIn than they do on
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram.
Yes. It's the question I get asked all the time at conferences and that kind of thing. I get so, but that sounds like a lot of work, Chris. I ask them, how much time do you spend on Facebook? Oh, about 3 hours a day. It's like, well, there you go then. If you spend 5 minutes less on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and spend a bit more time on LinkedIn, you will achieve amazing results.
So I used to be addicted to Instagram and Facebook, and it was really to feed my narcissism. And then I completely deleted social media, Facebook and Instagram, but I moved to Tinder because romance is a big part of my life, and I moved strongly into LinkedIn because I'm career focused, and I believe that young people shouldn't be feeding their narcissism through Facebook or Instagram and hashtags, and they should be spending more time thinking about their career on LinkedIn, and if they're single, on Tinder. And so do you see more young people as they go through, more millennials as they go through their mid-20s, shifting their focus to LinkedIn, and you're obviously trying to encourage that as well?
Yes, I am. Because the very need that they can see being an entrepreneur, they need to be on LinkedIn. If they want to employ people or get investors, they need to be on LinkedIn. And I show them how to use the data. A lot of people don't realize how you use the data on LinkedIn. It really is a first, second, third degree connection. And that's why people say, oh, should I connect with these people? I said 9 times out of 10, yes. Unless they just have no profile and they clearly just want a job to get out of their own country, you should say yes to expand your own networks. You never know how you can help somebody and how they can help you. And you never know where you're going to be in 5 years' time, 2 years' time, a year's time. You never know when one of your connections is going to come in handy both ways. And you'd be amazed how that makes you feel in terms of someone reaching out and say, can you help me? And then basically you say, that's fantastic, I can help you do X, Y, and Z. And it's almost like the Godfather. He makes the favors, doesn't expect anything back, but if he asks for something, then you will grant it because you've already done him a favor. And you're basically storing up all these favors, some of which you'll never use. And it is all about networking on LinkedIn. So I would say, to young people, definitely, it's all about investing. And it might be, you're in Singapore now and you're very happy with that job at DBS or OCBC, but in a few years' time, you might get very bored by that. You might want to be an entrepreneur. And to do that, you have to have a good standing and a good personal brand. And you can't start the day you want to become an entrepreneur when you want to leave DBS and go, right, I'm going to be an entrepreneur tomorrow. It's like, but I have no connections, no personal brand, no history, no credibility. You have to actually invest in that now. And then build up those relationships so you can reach out in 5 years' time going, I'm going to launch my own company. Can you help me? And people go, yes, I love your work. I love what you share. I'd love to help you. It's about relationship building ultimately.
What's a great opening line, for someone who's young and who's trying to maybe get a mentor or who's trying to get a potential job at their dream company? Opening lines are always the most awkward part for young people.
I think you have to be natural. You have to be natural. Yeah, you have to be natural. You have to be really, really natural. So often we use a headline like, if I go to Zurich, I got visiting Zurich. Simple. Because no one else, they will have been approached by nobody else saying visiting Zurich. And by the way, I'm the only CEO with a mohawk, and I'd love to talk to you about social selling with my 3 books. And suddenly going, oh, okay, this guy's interesting. I'm going to talk to this guy. So even if they just want to come and meet me for a cup of coffee or a beer, you form that connection. You just need something that stands you out. You don't just say, I'm into business development, or I'm a corporate person into legal. It's like, you've got to make yourself stand out and interesting. So that's why I like quotes. I like taking quotes from films or whatever and using that. And saying, this is what we're about. Go, that's interesting, I like that. And obviously people take a lot of Steve Jobs quotes or the rest of it. It's best not to take quotes that everybody else is also using. And so you take quotes from a film that means something to you, maybe an obscure film. Maybe an M. Night Shyamalan film, rather than, a more mainstream Avengers film. So, it's about your personal branding. It reflects on you.
So going back to the Godfather reference.
Yes.
If anybody wants free advice from you, they should ask you during your daughter's wedding, right? That's the best way to get in. That's the best way to get some free advice. Thanks for listening to part 1 in this 2-part interview with Chris Reed. In the second part of the interview, Chris goes into some of his biggest career highs and some of his lowest career mistakes and what is learned from them.